Is it possible to start your brand new business in 30 days or less? Absolutely. My name is Monica Main. I'm a serial entrepreneur and successful real estate investor, and I'm here to share with you the basic components on exactly how to start up a business from scratch. So you want to know what the legal structure is, and I'm going to give you a crash course. Now, you're probably wondering, well, why am I doing this? Well, first of all, most people do not know how to start a very basic brand new business from scratch. They have no idea. This is one of these things that they do not teach in the school system. And I actually had to figure all these things out on my own. So I'm going to share with you exactly how this works and how to get started right away. So you're probably wondering, well, who needs a business? Well, everybody should have a business. I don't care if you're a school teacher. I don't care if you still work for somebody. You should still have an S corporation or an LLC. The reason being is because you should start a side hustle right away. If you don't already have a side hustle, you're going to need one because the economy is shifting very quickly and you're going to have to start doing something on the side. And it's better to have a business already set up, especially if you don't plan on doing something maybe right away. Maybe you're thinking, okay, well, I'm going to start a business maybe in a year or two from now. You still want to start it now because then you can get something called seasoning, which will help you in the future when it comes to building business credit. So a 2-year plus old company obviously carries more weight from a credit standpoint. And so if you could even just start a business and maybe park it for 2 years, that's absolutely fine as well until you figure out what you want to do with the business, okay? So first and foremost, let's talk about the business itself. So ideally, you'll want to start your business in the home state where you currently reside. That's the easiest way of doing it. Also, you want to choose a business name that's relatively generic. The reason you want to choose a generic business name is because you don't know what you're going to do with it. You don't know if you're going to start an e-commerce business, a side eBay business. Maybe you're going to start making things out of your garage and selling it to people on a street corner, whatever the case may be. You don't know what you're going to be doing quite yet. And even if you think you know today, that may change. You might have to pivot your business plan later if it doesn't pan out the way you'd like it to. So it's better just to choose a very generic business name, meaning a generic business name is literally you could like tell your neighbor what your new business name is and they would be like, I don't have any idea what you're doing. So you want it to be very generic. So for example, like it could be Mega Media Enterprises Inc. or something like that, where people are just like, I don't know what that is. You don't want it to be very pigeonholed. Like for example, if you're thinking, well, maybe I'll buy and sell golf products, and later on you decide that there's no money in that. Well, the problem is if you name your company Golf Products of America Inc., the problem is if you decide to pivot into a different business endeavor, you're going to have to scrap that business and start all over again. So it's best to right now from the cuff to get yourself a very generic business name. Next, you might want to consider for extra layers of asset protection in the event that you don't want to start your business in your home state, and maybe you're not in a state that offers you to have an anonymous corporation. Like for example, if you are not in Nevada, New Mexico, Wyoming, or Delaware, one of those 4 states, if you don't reside in one of those 4 states, it means that wherever you are right now, like if you're in California, Florida, Michigan, wherever, it means that when you file your corporate entity, you are going to be very clearly listed on that entity and it's going to become public record. However, if you do form a corporation in Nevada, New Mexico, Wyoming, or Delaware, you can choose an option to become an anonymous corporation, meaning that when people do a public search on you, they're not going to find out that you actually own that corporation, which could benefit you because you can protect yourself. It's an extra added layer of protection for asset protection purposes, and that might not be important to you today, but it might be important to you 5 or 10 years from now when you're making millions of dollars a year and somebody decides they want to sue you. And you don't want it to be very easily findable as far as who owns what. And so you might want to consider getting yourself either a Nevada, New Mexico, Wyoming, or Delaware corporation and choose to have it to become fully anonymous. It's an extra fee and a cost to do this, but it might be well worth it if you do plan on becoming a very successful business owner and entrepreneur in the future. So that's just an option just to keep it open for you, because this is one of these deals where you're probably thinking, you know, I'm a successful entrepreneur. It's been 5 years. I wish Monica would have told me my options. I formed my corporation in California. It's very, very transparent on who owns it, and now I'm being sued by somebody who decided they wanted to dig into my pocket. So at least I told you up front what your options are. But again, you don't have to do it that way. You can very well just form the corporation in your home state and just call it a day. All right. So that's the easiest way to do it. So say, for example, you are in California and you live there. Well, first of all, please note that California is a very expensive state to have a corporation in. It's going to cost you $800 a year. Your first year it won't cost $800, but every year for your every full year thereafter, it will cost you $800 in fees to the state of California. And so just keep that in mind. Like, okay, if I'm going to be running an e-commerce store, is it going to be worth it to pay $800 a year? Now, if you're going to be running a brick and mortar store, you're going to definitely have to have a California or whatever state-based corporation where your business, your brick and mortar business is located. However, if you're going to be running an online store or anything like that, you might consider getting an out-of-state corporation for tax benefits and for mostly for anonymity, if that's the word, to be anonymous, so that way people don't have an ability to find you relatively quickly or easily. So CPAs will tell you all day long it's not 100% legal. However, lawyers who actually do form these corporations out of state, so for example, if you are in California and you want a Nevada corporation, lawyers that form Nevada corporations will tell you all day long that it is legal. So I tend to lean toward what a corporate attorney is going to tell me rather than some random CPA. But that's completely up to you on how you want to handle it. So decide where you're going to form your corporation. Name it something completely bland and generic. That is your first step. So I recommend a company called AmeriLawyer.com. I've been using them for many, many years, and they're probably one of the cheapest, and they also do have attorneys on staff that form your corporations for you. So it's not just a paralegal that's forming your corporation, it's actual real attorneys that will form your corporation for you, and you pay just a drop in the bucket on the fee. So for example, California is going to run you about $160. A place like Idaho is going to run you like $340, $360 to form your corporation. Nevada is going to be about $119, $120 if you want to form your corporation. That does not include being anonymous, by the way. So that's the base price to form your corporation. Now, if you want extra services, what they're going to tend to do, and I'm just going to warn you right up front, they're going to try to sell you on a bunch of different things. So you just get the bare basic minimum. Okay, if you want to save money and you want to do this with just a couple $100, which by the way, you can literally form your corporation to set up your entire business for about $200 or less if you play your cards right and you form in the right state. So say for example you decide you want to form a corporation in Nevada. Nevada is going to cost you around 119 bucks to form that corporation. Does not include being anonymous. Does not include your EIN, which is your employer identification number, which is essentially the social security number for your company. You do need to have an EIN number to be legit and to make sure that your entity is a real entity, okay? So you want to make sure that you get the EIN. However, you can save money. You don't have to have a mayor, lawyer, or any company who's setting up your corporate docs. They don't have to set up the EIN for you. You can decide to save money and say, listen, I will do it after I get my corporate docs. So once you get your corporate doc book in the mail, showing that you're legitimately a corporation, you can then go to the irs.gov website, go to the website and go into their search bar on their website and type in EIN online. When you type in EIN online, it'll bring you right to the page where you can actually form your EIN after you get your corporate docs. It's going to ask you all kinds of questions like who you are, what your social security number is, when the corporation was formed, and you're going to have to refer to the corporate docs, and you're going to have to refer to the page that shows the date that it was stamped and became a legitimate corporation. And you're going to have to give them all this data. I suggest that you are connected to a printer, or at least are able to download a PDF file into your computer at the very end, because they're going to give you a letter from the IRS that shows what your EIN number officially is. You're going to need this document to open up your business bank account. So again, please make sure that you're connected to a printer, or at least have the ability to download the PDF into your computer, and then at a later time you can go ahead and print that out and save all of that together with your corporate docs, because it's very important that you have your EIN. Again, this is your social security number for your company, okay? Now, once you get your EIN number, stay on the irs.gov website, and then I strongly suggest that if you decided to get a corporate entity, a for-profit corporate entity instead of an LLC, then I strongly suggest that you change it from a C corporation, because all corporations are born a C corporation unless it's an LLC, and then you change it to an S corporation. The problem with a C corporation is unless you're a large company like 3M, GM, Microsoft, something really large, that would be a C corporation. you're going to want to be an S corporation, which is more mom and pop, and you get more tax advantages. If you're a C corporation, you remain to be a C corporation, you fall under the double taxation standards, which means that you're taxed at the corporate level, so all the profits from your corporation get taxed, and then you're taxed again at the personal level on your personal tax returns. You're taxed twice as a C corporation. So that's why you want to shift over from a C to an S corporation. So while you're on the IRS.gov website, after you've received your EIN number, you can immediately go back into the IRS.gov website, type in Form 2553. Again, that's Form 2553 in the IRS.gov search bar. And then you can go ahead and fill out that form. You're going to either have to print it out and mail it in, or print it out and fax it into the IRS. And that will change you from a C corporation to an S corporation. And then your tax year, of course, is going to end on December 31st, just like it would with an LLC. With a C corporation, the tax year can end at the end of any given month. So say, for example, you form your corporation in June. Well, just right off the bat, your C corporation is going to end on June 30th every single year until you change it to an S corporation, which then it will change to the ending of the December 31st every single year. And by the way, all your corporate taxes for your S corporation is going to be due on March 15th, which is a full month before your personal taxes are due. So that's when you're going to have to fill out a Form 1120S, as in Sam. And that is going to be something that you can do either with TurboTax or TaxCut, one of those that essentially does an 1120S form, or you can have a CPA or somebody at H&R Block do it for you. But again, it's going to be due on March 15th of every single year for the prior year. So again, this is all stuff you need to know. Even if you're making $0.00 for your corporation, you still have to file a tax return on March 15th of every year. You have to. So just please note in your head that you're going to have to file it every single year. So, I mean, I know this seems really confusing, but it's not. So again, let's go back. Let's recap really quick. You're going to find a very generic business name. You're either going to form in the state in which you currently reside, or you're going to choose one of the anonymous states. You can either very quickly set up in either Nevada, Delaware, Wyoming, or New Mexico. And then I recommend you use a company called AmeriLawyer.com, unless, of course, you're forming in Wyoming. And then there's another company I recommend that's WyomingCompany.com. And so you can definitely set up your corporation and set up your entire business within 30 days or less. Have your EIN number, which you could save some money and get it yourself by going to the IRS.gov website. Then you also want to change it over from a C corporation to an S corporation that day, ideally, by going to the IRS.gov website, go ahead and type in Form 2553 after you get your EIN, and then go ahead and either fax or mail that off. So then you just basically set up the crux of your business itself. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, Monica, what's next? I recommend that you get a business address. And it's up to you if you want to get the business address before you do all of your stuff with the corporation or after. Now, if you want to start tapping into business credit, you're going to have to get yourself a business address. A lot of people don't realize that you can actually go to USPS, USPS, which is your local Yoco post office, and you can get the cheapest, low-grade, tiniest mailbox that they have. And you can get it every quarter. You can pay for it. It's as low as, I think, about $5 a month if you pay on average for a year. It's $4 and something cents a month on average if you pay 12 months in advance. And so basically for $50-something a year, you can get the smallest USPS post office box. And a lot of people don't know that you can use the street address at the post office. And so you can use that as your address. So say, for example, they gave you post office box 1300, okay? So most people think that they can only use the post office box version. So they'd be like P.O. Box 1300, city, state, zip code, right? However, a lot of people don't know that you can use the street address of the post office. So what I recommend that you do is you Google post office near me, find the actual street address itself, and then you can actually use that zip code. So it's going to probably be a different zip code than your post office box. So instead of using P.O. Box 1300, you can say, for example, the post office is on Main Street. So maybe it's 1234 Main Street. So you can actually use 1234 Main Street, number 1300 city, state, zip code. The zip code is likely going to be different than the P.O. Box zip code. So the fastest and easiest way to figure out what the actual street address zip code is just Google it and find out where the street address is for that post office. And you can actually get your mail sent to the actual street address with your number whatever your box number is, you can actually receive FedEx and UPS packages as well. Again, a lot of people don't know this. So I recommend you use that as the most cheapest, low budget option to getting yourself a business address. Next, you should probably get yourself a professional email address. And you could do this very quickly and easily and very cheaply on GoDaddy.com. And so you can get an email address, a professional email address, as low as $2.99 a month. And so what you can do is go there, get a $10 domain that matches that of your corporation. So for example, if the name of your corporation is Mega Media Enterprises, Inc., then maybe you want to get megamediaenterprises.com. And then in the checkout area at the GoDaddy website, you can simply get the low budget El Cheapo email address option as you're checking out with your domain for $2.99 a month. And then that way you just set up your email. You could set it up either on your desktop or you could set it up on your phone. I like to set mine up on my phone. And then I would do a part of my name or my initials. So for example, my name is Monica Susan Main, so I do MSM. So you could do MSM or your initials at the name of your company.com. Or you can do just your first name, like mine would be Monica at the name of my company.com. And then that way you have a professional email address. This is very important when you want to start the process of building business credit and you start the process of applying for business credit. You want to have a professional business address, you want to have a professional email, and the very next thing is to have a professional phone number. So on a website called Cal8, it's KALL number 8.com, you can get a toll-free number. I recommend either an 800 or 888 number, no other number, no 877, no 866, 855, 844, none of that other stuff. Only an 800 or 888 number. And for $10 a month, you can forward an 800 number. It does not have to be a vanity number or a sequential number. It could actually be just an 800, whatever, blase number. And as little as $10 a month, you could forward that to your cell phone. Then that way, when you start the process of building business credit and applying for business credit cards, you now have your home address and your business address separate addresses. You now have your personal cell number and a business phone number, separate numbers. You now have a personal email address. Usually they don't ask for that, but you have a personal email address and a business email address, separate. So then that way you start to look like a real legitimate company that they can lend money to, which will allow you to gain maximum leverage as far as when it comes to business credit. This is all stuff I wish somebody would have taught me when it came to structuring my company for the first time out. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. So I had to like bumble my way through it and figure it out on my own, because nobody actually sat me down and said, listen, Monica, this is how you start a company. Like, no one anywhere did. So I'm just so glad and honored to be able to share this with you, because again, they don't teach this to you in the school system. I honestly think that they do that on purpose because they want people to be kind of blind and dumb when it comes to not understanding how the real world works as far as the economy goes, but to also make sure you don't get maximum leverage. Your maximum leverage is going to come in when you're able to start, you're going to tap into that business credit, which you'll be able to get tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in unsecured credit that you can then in turn use to start and build a business from scratch. A lot of people, again, don't know that. But it does have to start with starting your corporate entity. You have to start a business first, not a sole proprietor where you're using your own social security number. You don't want to do any of that. You need a corporate entity. So again, recap. You want to first name your company as generic as possible. Then you want to go to AmeriLawyer.com or some other company that can form your corporation. You can either choose your own state where you live, or you could choose one of the anonymous states like Nevada, Wyoming, Delaware, or New Mexico. You need to get then an EIN. You could either choose to pay the extra bucks it could be 35 to 50 bucks or a little bit more, depending on, and then they can get an EIN for you, or you can actually go to the IRS.gov website after you receive your corporate docs and get your own EIN from the IRS.gov website. I do warn you though, sometimes the IRS.gov website does not work well, and so half the time you'll be able to get your own EIN, the other half it just doesn't work, right? So I always pay the extra fee to AmeriLawyer.com to get me my EIN to make sure I'm going to get it. So then that way they mail it to me in my corporate book when I get it. So I not only get my corporation, but I also get my EIN at the same time, usually by way of FedEx, where they send me everything. And then once you get the corporate docs and your EIN, you then want to go back to the IRS.gov website, type in Form 2553 to then get the form to change it from a C corporation to an S corporation. I warn you about getting an LLC. Single member LLCs are not recognized by the IRS, so it might be okay for you to form it in any given state, but when it comes to the IRS, they do not like single member filings. Many times they won't give you a problem, but every once in a while they will. I know they did with me in 2011. I had a single member LLC, and they said, sorry, we're not accepting your filing until you add either another entity to your LLC to make it a legit LLC, or you need to change the designation of your corporation. I chose to just close it down. So I had that happen to me one time, and now I never do a single member LLC ever again. So unless you actually have a physical partner or another corporation to add on as a partner, which you can legitimately do, then you can open up an LLC. Otherwise, it needs to be a corporation. So, and then once you have your corporation, change it from a C Corp to an S Corp through Form 2553. And then also make sure that you have your business address, business email address, business phone number, and then you're good to go. And then at that point, you can now decide what kind of business you want to start. So I know that seems like it's putting the cart before the horse. Like, why would I want to start a business and I don't even know what kind of business I'm starting? Well, the good news is that when you have your business corporation and setup already started, then you now have the pull with banks to be able to get corporate credit, especially if you have a decent mid FICO score, mid personal FICO score of at least 680 or above. Ideally, you want it to be 700 or 720 or above. And then once you have decent personal credit, then you can start to apply for business credit cards. And a lot of them will have promotional APR periods of anywhere from 0 to 24 months where you're not paying any interest. And so this will allow you to be able to borrow money essentially to start the process of building your business. You might not be fully sure what the business is going to be today, but once you start your business, you'll start to have some business ideas, like maybe you want to start an e-commerce store, or maybe you want to start an online funnel, or maybe you want to start a YouTube video business, or maybe you want to start some other kind of business, like, I don't know, doing psychic readings for people, or, something. I mean, whatever your passions are, you can just start any business that you'd like to start, but it all starts with having the right corporate structure. So now that you know how to do it, then your only choice at this point in time is to decide what kind of business you want to start. And then you could start the process of borrowing some unsecured credit from your unsecured credit cards that you'll be getting, that you'll be able to immediately apply for once you have your corporate structure set up, once you have your EIN, and et cetera. Now, the last step is that you probably want to get yourself a business checking account to make sure that once you actually start a business and you can start receiving funds from people, then you're going to want to have a business checking account. So you can literally go to any business bank account bank that will be able to open up a bank account for you. So that would be the last step. I have a special banker that I work with. Not only will she be able to open up a business bank account in pretty much any state. So say, for example, you're in California and you started your Nevada corporation. A lot of banks don't like to open up out-of-state corporate accounts. But I do have a banker that will do that for you, so I will have her information down below in the description box. If you want to reach out to her, just tell her Monica Main sent you, and she will be able to open up a business bank account that's out of state if you have all your corporate docs and your EIN number already set up for her. And you can scan all that documentation in and email it directly to her once you reach out by phone and basically start a conversation with her about starting a business bank account. She can also offer you a really awesome, kick-ass 0% APR credit card that will go along with your corporate bank account. And this is a business credit card, and she will be able to offer that a 0% APR usually between 7 and 9 months. So definitely ask her about opening up a credit card as well, and that will help you kickstart getting the funding for your business going right away. So this is all tips. Again, I wish I would have known this stuff. I wish I would have known that it's very difficult to get a business bank account for an out-of-state business. And now that I've given you the resource in the description box below, now you have all of the information and the data that you need to be able to start your very first successful corporation. So if you like this video, give me a big fat thumbs up and definitely subscribe to my channel. I have a lot more videos like this coming. And this is Monica Main signing off. I will see you in the next video.